Good afternoon once again. My name is Michelle D. I'm the Partnerships and Operations Head of MBC. Welcome to the Global Leader Session featuring Microsoft Asia President, Mr. Ahmed Mazhari. Before we
At
begin,
S,
I would like to say thank you to our series sponsors, SGV, Oracle, NetSuite, and Accenture. I would also like to acknowledge our sponsors attending today. We have the Vice Chair of SGV, Vivian Cruz. Vivian, thank you for joining us. We also have the Country Managing Director of Accenture, Ambe Tierro. Here, Ambe. With us also is the Channel Sales Head of Oracle NetSuite, Joanne Sanchez. Joining us from the MBC board members, we have our Vice Chair, Mr. Jaime Augusto Sobel de Ayala. We also have Ambassador Jose L. Quisha Jr., Cosette Canilao, and Peter Maquera. Please also join me in welcoming three of our new members. We have here our SVP of Pioneer Life Inc., Mr. Earl Ferrer. Welcome, Earl. Also joining us is the President and CEO of Una Insular Insurance Corp., Mr. Ramon Zandueta. And last but not the least is the Managing Director of Bibron, Mr. Sinon Eserman. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Now, please allow me to go through our program today. First, MBC Trustee Cosette Canilao will introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Ahmed Mazhari. After that, we will go through our Q&A, which will be led by our MBC Executive Director, Coco Alcuaz. Coco will ask the first few questions, and we will proceed with your questions. After the Q&A, there will be a little time for photos and networking. Before we begin, may I invite everyone for a quick group photo. We'll start first with the head table, and we'll have a group photo. Just stay in your seats. Our photographer will be the one moving here on the stage. So just look at the camera and give your best smile. Thank you, everyone. To start us off, I would like to call on stage MBC Trustee Cosette Canilao for the welcome remarks. Cosette.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Makati Business Club, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to today's event. I am very pleased to welcome our main guest, Ahmed Mazhari, President of Microsoft Asia, which is one of the company's 3 geographic areas and certainly the fastest growing. Depending on the day, Microsoft is either number 1 or number 2 company in the world by market cap. It is much lower than in terms of revenue, which means that there is a lot of confidence that this giant can keep growing at a fast pace. Asia is key to that growth. Aside from the faster growing market here, Microsoft also has 2 of their largest research centers outside of the United States, in China and in India. Microsoft set up shop in the Philippines in 1995, working with both the public and private sector to help accelerate digital transformation, responsible innovation, and increase digital literacy of Filipinos. Our favorite example of this is during the pandemic. Microsoft and the Department of Justice worked together to conduct virtual court hearings, leveraging the Microsoft 365's Teams platform, facilitated continuation of hearings, and played a pivotal role in advancing DOJ's digital transformation efforts. Ahmad was appointed Asia President right before the world went into lockdown in 2020. Before joining the company, he spent 23 years at GE, where he last served as Chief Growth Officer. Ahmed currently oversees a diverse region comprising of 20 countries, 30,000 employees, and over 100,000 partners. In the last year and a half, Microsoft got a new boost when its partner, OpenAI, sprang generative AI into the world via ChatGPT. Microsoft has since added Copilot to its products, giving users a powerful AI tool to leverage the web and your work data in real time. Today, we'll talk to Ahmed about fast-moving giants, fast-evolving technologies, and the risks and the promises they pose for all of us. I am pleased to turn over to MBC Executive Director Coco Alquas, who will lead the conversation with Ahmed. Thank you all.
Cosette, thank you. Now may I ask Coco and Ahmed to take a seat on stage for the one-on-one conversation. After the one-on-one conversation, we'll have an open discussion. My colleagues Bianca and Reina here will be handing over the microphones to you. So if you have any questions, just wave at them later. Coco, I'll hand the floor back to you.
Thanks very much, Michelle, and thanks, Cosette. Thanks everyone for coming today. A programming note, when we started getting partners about 4 years ago, Microsoft was our first, and they were the sponsor of this Global Leaders series, and they stuck with us for about 3 years, and thank you very much to Microsoft for that. Peter's predecessor did that for us and set us down this course, so thanks very much for that. And we're very glad that Peter's joined our board effective last year. This series was inspired to help Filipino businesses and executives think, act, and compete more globally. And we can't have a more suitable speaker than we have today for that. Maybe Ahmed, I'll start with a softball question. Peter was telling me that he's one of 180, is it correct? 180 country managers, 110 country managers around the world, and of course about a third of that, and the fastest growing third under you. What's a typical day, week, or month like for you?
I might go back to Copilot and ask the question because that's not straightforward. Look, I tend to do a few things that help me stay sane. I'm nursing a knee injury at this point in time, so I'm not able to run, but I had two great colleagues of mine this morning take me around to the Makati business, the Ayala Triangle, I think, and I was most energized to see this restaurant that used to be a terminal building, and then this broad street on the road, which was meant to be a highway, and what I would say is no pun, but I had memories of this area from 6 or 7 years ago, and I want to congratulate the business leaders here. This place looks modern, this place looks young, it looks energizing and hugely positive. So I was surprised by the positive transformation in the last several years. So well done on that. So I do that. I do yoga. I'm trying to fly.
With a plane or with your wings?
On a plane. But I must confess, I'm not doing a great job. So I've taken a few flights together with a trainee pilot, but hope to do that. I am on the road quite substantially, and I love to read. And my latest book that I'm reading is called The Great Divide, the Shias, the Sunnis, and the Making of the Middle East, which I'm very excited to learn more from.
Is that reading or audiobooks or Audible?
While I might be in the most innovative and the cutting-edge AI company of the world, I still love to smell my books.
There's nothing like smelling a new book, right? Ahmed, usually when we have these discussions, we ask the speaker what it will take or what it's like for a smaller company, a local company to become more global. I'll turn that around a little. As Cosette said, you're one of the biggest companies in the world. And the question, I guess, is how do you keep a huge company like that still agile, still innovative, and still risk-taking?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and this could occupy the rest of the luncheon session, but the last 24 hours, you know, my mind has been full of new ideas coming into Philippines, and the fantastic lunch, my tummy is full too. But I'm super energized by what's happening in Philippines, and let's start there, and then we might go global. Oh, look, you're a country of 115 million people, massively on services, including an area that I am familiar with, which is the outsourcing world. As part of my GE stint, we spun off into an independent company, and we built that company up together. But there is no better time for Microsoft than today to fulfill and make our mission real. And our mission is super ambitious, to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So, yes, a lot has been done in the last several years, and I think we played a big role. Thank you for the great example of the Philippines court system. I used to court that during the pandemic. But healthcare, education, the notion of having co-pilots for every teacher. Think about every student who has the ability now to have a private tutor, a private digital tutor. Every nurse having the ability to have a private tutor, every doctor. So the opportunity across the world is massive, and this might be a marathon, but the good news on AI is that we're in probably the first 200 to 300 meters of the run. And if you are still on the starting point, don't worry, many people have not gone too far ahead.
So how does a huge company like Microsoft ensure that it still takes these risks?
Well, I think a couple of things. I thought the biggest shift that Satya has made as a CEO, and I was fortunate to be with him 2 weeks ago for the week we were in India, touring India, was about being strategically focused and having a growth mindset. And I say that kind of together. Strategically focused. The first thing that Satya did when he came in was he got rid of our mobile division, which was a very pivotal thing for us in our existence. Equally, he bought Minecraft. So he was very focused on the areas that what we wanted to invest in a company that continues to be at the cutting edge of technology. But it's the growth mindset which actually keeps us very agile. It's about learning every day and waking up wanting to learn more. He encourages leaders in his leadership, and he's got about 200 odd people, or the senior leaders of the company, what he calls the executive leadership. Each one of us is challenged every day to do different. Each one of us is challenged every day to think different. And yes, we have a large company franchise, but we win with our customers every day. We win with someone here stands up and wants to partner. We win when somebody wants to do something more innovative in the world. And that's what keeps us going. So going back to 11 months ago, he had 250 of us in a room, and he said, then the world is unleashing in front of us, and we have to be humble, because we have to be responsible. And what I want to do is change the clock speed of the company. So he has been very, very focused in sharp decision making, accelerating quickly, learning quickly, but remaining focused.
I'm a bit floored. How does he get, aside from bonuses and stock options, how does he get you to accelerate the clock of the company?
Look, it's a great question. I think while I have aged over the last 12, 18 months since AI came, my intellectual metabolism is higher now. Because I just feel excited about the possibilities. You know, an example I shared this afternoon was about, and I had this, few moments with Jaime about on healthcare. Like, we've partnered with the Bill Gates Foundation, and I know Bill's been here to Philippines before, but we've partnered with the Bill Gates Foundation to convert the ultrasound machine, the handheld ultrasound machine, into an AI ultrasound machine. Now, what that does is two things. Firstly, it is reducing the cost of delivery, because you're able to do more ultrasounds by taking 1 or 2 scans quickly. The second most important thing it does is that it reduces the skill needed for interpretation. So if you are in a village in Rwanda, or if you're in a village in Cambodia, you can have a tertiary healthcare worker look at pregnant women more effectively, more quickly, and actually secure more lives.
Before we go to the questions, I have a couple of questions about AI. So it was launched, I guess, a little over a year ago, a year and a half ago by now. What has been the biggest, it's been fun for a lot of people, especially those first few months. What has been the biggest productive benefit of AI in that time? And looking forward, what are you counting on, or what are you hoping for in the next couple of years?
Yeah, look, I think I might perhaps be smarter if I responded to the last half quickly and say I don't know. Because what has been delivered was beyond comprehension 2 years ago, right? And we're continuing to discover new possibilities and new opportunities. AI, the impact is profound. And it's profound in many several dimensions. What is AI today? What is AI 50 years ago? AI came in 1956. But the AI and the machine learning of 50 years ago, even until a few years ago, was mathematical and statistical. The AI of today is cognitive. It's multimodal, right? It's multi-jurisdiction. So you can have an intelligent conversation like you have with a human, where you can switch topics. The example that comes to my mind, and I know Jaime might get bored because I'd shared a couple of this with him just a few minutes ago, was the work that Microsoft Research has done in the area of creating batteries with low lithium footprint. With AI, we were able to identify with the United States Energy Development Board 32 million potential substances that could help create a low lithium footprint battery. Now, finding 32 million potential substances is itself a huge monumental task. Second, we went from 32 million potential substances to 18 in 80 hours. Humanly impossible. We then used humans to go from 18 to 1. That's AI. AI is human augmentation to create a more intelligent outcome. And this lithium battery that we have created in the lab has 70% lower lithium content.
Thanks very much. When I was reading up for this interview, that's exactly the example that popped out for me from healthcare. And actually wrote it down here because it has all these jargon that I don't understand. But I think you explained it quite well. Maybe later on we'll go into that. I'm going to turn to the audience for questions. I do have more on my own, but if you have any, please raise your hand, and one of my colleagues will approach you. I think Ambassador Quisha is the first one.
Thank you for your very interesting and thoughtful comments, Ahmed. We read in the local papers that the New York Times sued OpenAI for having illegally used materials from the New York Times, allegedly without their consent. Could you comment on this case, or is it under sub judice? Thank you.
Ambassador, that's a matter between New York Times and OpenAI continues to be an independent company. But what I would think would probably be benefit from speaking is regulation and the need for regulation. We are, as a company, at the forefront of regulation. Just 2 days ago, 20 companies, and we're one of them, has signed up on how do we avoid citizens from being impacted by deepfake, especially in an election year where 4 billion people are going to vote this year. Apparently 65 countries are going to polls just in this calendar year. We are actually working to determine how we create the right watermarks. We're trying to determine how we can create a connection between all the tech companies so that we can share knowledge and share experience. I think that's where our focus continues to lie. There will always be situations that we will have to deal with, which are IP-led. And we were the first company that has come up and openly said that if you use Copilot, our AI technology, and we will completely protect you on any IP infringement. So that is our pledge to ensuring safety and security of AI, and AI will continue to evolve. And I do hope that companies and countries come together, because this is a true public partnership opportunity. Look, if you look at technologies, any technology, you can either regulate it to stifle or you can regulate it to enable innovation. And I do hope that AI goes down the path of regulating for innovation.
You mentioned Copilot again. At the risk of sounding like I'm doing a plugging Copilot, could I first ask everyone in the audience to raise their hand if they've used ChatGPT or looked over the shoulder of their daughter while their daughter was using it? Okay. Could I ask, that's almost everybody. Could I ask, who of you have used Copilot? Peter, we have some work to do. Any more questions? More questions from the audience?
There's one there on that table there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Punumbayan.
Thank you. I've been trying to understand what AI is, but I don't think I will ever be able to know what it is. But maybe it may help me and others if you could just tell us in our language the things that you put in the machine that it is able to do what it does.
That's the hardest question I've got this year. I don't know, sir, is the answer. But what it can do, the possibilities of AI is actually immense. And my advice to business leaders, CEOs, and custodians of business is that you better get started. You better get started, and one of the ways to do it is probably set up a small center of excellence that you can have in your company. I've also advised that that center of excellence be directly working for you, because the pace of change and the capabilities of this tool is today limited by either our courage or our imagination.
Thanks very much. Question over there in the last table. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. I'm Romel Regina from Inspiro, proud partner actually of Microsoft Philippines. We are one of the early adopters, and we're quite fortunate. We appreciate that, Ahmed, for having us start to explore Copilot. So I think my question is, I've heard Copilot a few times now, and we've seen, we're quite excited with what is this benefiting us from our own company. But I wanted to know, apart from trying to support companies like Inspiro to try out Copilot, are there other initiatives that Microsoft would like to or is planning to do to ensure a good permeation of this across the enterprise, given its its benefits? And just probably a supplementary question. And I was telling a bit about this, and he shared with me some good points already, that one of the main concerns of benefiting or leveraging the benefit of Copilot or AI for that matter is this concern about cybersecurity.
Sure.
The moment our clients or our partners starts to hear that we need to connect with them, then that's where the issue about breach and all these things. So appreciate your thoughts on that, Ahmed.
Yeah, no, firstly, thank you, Romel, for being a great partner, and Inspiro, yes, continues to remain important for us and will do, and we appreciate your partnership. Thank you for being a pilot, co-pilot customer. Your question is probably in two parts, and let me handle the more critical one, which is how do we make this mission of Microsoft of empowering every person and every organization to achieve more? It's through partners. I mean, fundamentally, my introduction was we have 100,000 partners here. We have a large network of partners. We have the big four that is going into this, the likes of EY, the big system integrators in Japan, in India. They're all building up. In one of the interviews I did earlier today, my push was Philippines has such a great population base of young, talented people. You could actually be the hub of creating AI software capabilities in this nation. And that could be a great supplement to the current outsourcing industry that you run. I am a glass half full person. I truly believe that the outsourcing industry in here should not limit themselves to back office. It's not about, you can actually go into middle and front office. Every developed market in the world today has a population problem. Every developed market in the world does not have enough skills. So you could be doing remote monitoring of healthcare. You could be doing remote monitoring of nursing homes. You could be working on second-tier software coding research that is maybe developed in the US and doing QC here. So there's a lot of work that will go because jobs will get displaced, but jobs will change. Now, how many in this, let's talk about prompt. How many people have heard the designation prompt engineering?
Lots of job applicants, I gather.
Right? That's interesting. Prompt engineering is one of the highest in development as a job today. And I don't want to get into RAG and inferencing and grounding, which are different terminologies of AI. But prompt engineering essentially means training your AI engine to ensure that it is within the constraints, it is within the boundaries, it is understanding and it's learning. Prompt engineering is new. So the local language here, Tagalog, right? Somebody would say, okay, we want to do an LLM with Tagalog. Like, do you have enough content available in Tagalog? Because if you don't have enough tokens, you can't build an LLM. So now somebody will say, okay, I'm going to do prompt engineering work. I'm going to create audio files of Tagalog. That's prompt engineering. Then you start to train and it creates a Filipino LLM with the local context. Then you ask it questions with the global context and you say, no, that's a global context. That's prompt engineering. So different work profiles will get created. So people like you will build new sets of skills and new sets of jobs, which I think this economy is most advantaged by. One, because of your population being young. B, you have low tech debt. At some point in time, take advantage of the fact that not enough investment went in tech, right? Take advantage of that. And because you have low tech debt, you can actually accelerate quite significantly.
You really are a half glass full person. Could I check if there are questions on this side before I go to June? On this side, any questions? Okay, June?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Interesting conversation. I have shared with you that I think about a couple of years ago, I was in your campus in Seattle, and the head of R&D, we asked him what's the expectation of Bill Gates, and he told us just two things: to make sure they still have jobs, you still have jobs in 25 years, and your cost of your product and services should go down about 30% every 18 months. That's probably why we keep updating our programs. We use about 500 of your programs. It's good for transportation planning. You can have thousands of logarithms. But planning airports, we tried AI. And it removed the runway. It looks like airplanes will be landing and taking off vertically. So we went back to human intelligence. For us architects here, do we still have jobs by 2030? Or AI will take over? Thank you.
Or a good prompt engineer would solve that problem, right?
For those who haven't visited our campus in Redmond, it's a beautiful campus, so thank you for being there. The one example that I would like to quote is maybe together. The first electricity plant ever in the world was in New York in 1864, and it was all of 5 kilowatt. Second, in just before the First World War, 98% of the US economic engagement by labor was agriculture. And it actually fed only 1/10 of the population base of today. And you fast forward today, where electricity is ubiquitous, where the internet is ubiquitous, everyone mostly in the developed world and now progressively in the developing world get to eat, yet there is higher rates of employment in the world. So I'm very confident that there will be different jobs that will involve. I continue to say there will be some form of displacement, but different jobs will. Think about architecture. I think there will come a time where you can immerse yourself in a HoloLens and actually see your home of the future, or the mall of the future, or the campus of the future, and change it on the fly. It will still require a human augmentation. So I personally believe in the power of people plus technology creates a better outcome.
Thanks very much. One or two more questions? Yes. Is that Mike? Yeah. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Coco. I'm Mike Consenheim, CEO for the Solar Energy Philippines, and I have a question for you regarding something that I used to study before, a long time ago. Well, not as long as the average person here, but anyways.
Ouch! I didn't need to say that.
I'm curious, since earlier you were discussing agility of a company like Microsoft, and you mentioned several new innovations like the lithium battery you guys came out with, and Copilot. Do you apply corporate venturing in bringing these new technologies to the market? And to what extent do you give autonomy to these new business units for them to make certain strategic decisions to bring these products to the market?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, and it's multidimensional, actually. It's a great question. So we have a venture which is called M12, which is a VC, Microsoft VC. That's a typical VC. We look at companies, we go and invest in them, and we let them run like VCs would, generally speaking, right? So it's a capital investment, but that's betting on a specific technology. Then there is something called the Microsoft Climate Investment Fund, which invests in partnership capital in companies that are pledging to create new technologies and new solutions for a low carbon world. Example, one of our investments is in a low carbon, low sulfur aviation fuel company. Third, we work with startups and enable them on the Microsoft's platform to build software SaaS capabilities that we can then enable them to sell on our marketplace, because they don't have sales teams, they don't have the reach, so we enable them through our partner network. And finally, we have specific customers that we work with that are very large tech companies. And publicly, we work with Adobe and SAP and many others who we help scale in different markets of the world. And our latest partner, and thank you, Oracle, for that, Oracle is moving a lot of they're partnering with us to move some Oracle customers to the cloud as well.
Thanks very much. We have time for no more questions, unfortunately. I'll ask one last one, and then we'll begin to wrap up. Satya Nadella took over a very different company X years ago.
10
years ago. And if I were to ask you now how you see Microsoft 10 years hence, what's your best guess of how it would look like?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't guess 2 years out, so 10 becomes even 5 times harder. But I would think we would see a world where we provide technologies that create more inclusive growth, more inclusive education, more inclusive healthcare, more inclusive careers. And we see a world where the possibilities are quite endless. What I see from a financial standpoint, we expect tech currently is about 5% of global GDP. We think tech will be about 10% of global GDP in the next decade or so. So we would see continuous investment in there. And I think what will be the most defined change is that every CXO will part-time to be a CTO or a CDO, because it'll be so tech-enabled.
Thank you very much. Please join me in thanking Ahmed for today's wonderful discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Coco.
Thank you very much.
Hi. Thank you, Ahmad and Coco. May I ask you to kindly stay on stage for our group photo? But before that, Ahmad, please allow us to share with you our simple token of appreciation. Since you grew up in Shillong, India, which is famous for its bamboo and rattan products, we have here for you a silverware, which is partially made with locally sourced bamboo and created by a Filipino craftsman. I hope you like it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's have a photo first. Yeah. After this photo, I'll ask the MBC board members to kindly join Ahmad and Coco for a group photo.
Someone has to sit? No, I'd rather have Ambassador.
Board members, stay on stage, please, as we'll invite our sponsors to join you on stage. Thank you very much. That concludes our session this afternoon. Thank you for attending MBC Global Leader Series with Microsoft Asia President Ahmed Mazhari. Please share your comments and feedback on today's event by scanning the QR code on the screen or the one at your table. We would also like to invite you to our upcoming event on March 1. This is the Advanced Manufacturing Workforce Development Quarterly Meeting entitled Building Inclusive Workplaces, How Industry 4.0 Empowers Women. Stay up to date on MBC events, activities, and advocacies by following us on social media. Good day to all, and we look forward to seeing you again in our future events. Thank you and stay safe.